Good morning, everybody. You're very welcome to Trinity, or not to Trinity, to Aghada Presbyterian Church this morning. And may God bless you. Today's the census day. Have you all filled out your forms? No? Not yet. Tonight. I filled mine out. I'll sign it tomorrow morning. So, do any of you remember the story in God's Word where David was chastised by God for taking a census? Do you remember the story? I wonder what you make of it. The story is basically that the Lord told David, don't count all your people. And then later on, he did. And actually, in 2 Chronicles, an interesting and rare time where the devil or Satan is mentioned by name in the Old Testament, it says that actually the devil prompted him to do this. But you might wonder, what's wrong with taking a census? And if you were here last week, we were talking about how the people of Israel, the Israelite country, was a special time and place. It was constituted by God as a divinely instituted country that were supposed to follow him. But they're gone now. That nation is gone. So what do we do with that? And we were talking about how the people of God today are God's people. And we look at the way in which the Old Testament talks about the likes of Israel, and we say in certain ways that still applies to us. So we were looking at Psalm 137, that famous psalm where there is some quite harsh language towards Israel's enemies. And we said that doesn't give us right to pray curses on our enemies. Instead, what we do is we see, well, who is the people of God today? And what does the New Testament say about God's enemies today? And we can pray against them in general terms. I don't know I'm not making sense. The census of people of Israel. The reason why God was angry at David was because he was saying to God's people, you need to be trusting us. David was counting all those folks because he wanted to see how many fighting men and how many people he had to look after, so that if he got into trouble, he'd count them and say, listen, this is, I know I can go up against the Syrians. I know I can go up against the Babylonians because I have so many people. But God's anger was because he wasn't trusting him. In the same way, there's nothing wrong with taking a census today. We're not the people of Israel. But we have to trust him. That's what that passage is telling us this morning. We have to trust God, not put our hope in the numbers that we have. And that's a message big here for us in Aghada. We're small in number. We have to put our hope in him alone. So the Irish government can count all people at once. We will not be too bothered by our numbers and drive on and worship God. Let me pray to start us off this morning. Normally I go through the Psalms. Let me read you a few verses from Psalm 20. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They are brought to their knees and fall, but we rise up and stand firm. Father God, we want to worship you this morning. Unlike David, who took a census, we want to trust in you and not in men. We want to trust in you and not in our numbers. Some trust in chariots and some in horses. These are instruments of war, Father. We are called to be people of peace. Try to live at peace with everyone around us and love and trust you. May the words that we say today, may the words that Tom brings us in his sermon, may everything that we sing, everything that we think, help us and direct us to trust you all the more.